Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Nathan Keller. I'm your moderator for today's Innovation Theatre Session 2. Today I'm joined by Marko Kiers, Chief Commercial Officer from Rebound. He's going to discuss today about enhancing customer experience through effective returns management. And I throw it over to you, Marko.
Yes, thank you very much. So it's really awesome to be here on stage on Deliver. And to talk about how to enhance indeed customer experience with effective returns management. I'm the chief commercial for Rebound. It's an innovative company based in Utrecht, but with global offices, UK and in the US. And we operate on a global scale. But I'm not here to give you the corporate pitch. I am, of course, here to tell you about how to influence experience with the help of returns. And of course, at the end of the presentation, I'm going to tell you a little bit of what we do and how we do it. But let's first talk about the why. So to start, actually, I was thinking to start differently, but it was an idea of our marketing manager who's sitting there to put Spotify on, and then I was imagining you all standing up, put Spotify on, do a little dance, because it almost seems like a silent disco to me. It's just the first thing I do this way. It would actually be cool to show off to the other audience and do a little dance together, but I'm not going to ask that of you, of course, today. I'm going to talk about customer experience. That's what I'm going to do. But when you talk about returns, it is, of course, not only about customer experience. This is what we're going to zoom into today. But when you look at it holistically, returns is all about improving top-line performance, but it's also looking at cost efficiency, operational excellence, so to speak. And it is, of course, if you do that, it affects your sustainability efforts as well. So the cool thing is that if you focus on customer experience and the other topics, it gets one blob of some topics that are very relevant in any company. Because financial performance, if you sell something, and then suddenly you need to take a provision in your financial report if you're listed on the stock exchange. If you have 40% returns, that means that everything that you sell is suddenly 40% not sold. So people make a provision in their financial report. So affecting that, of course, is a whole different subject that we can talk about for another hour. But today, we're going to talk about customer experience. So the agenda for today is how you can affect customer experience with returns management, as I said. Why are they so tightly interwoven? How does it affect, what's the relationship between customer service, customer experience, and returns? And last but not least, at the end of the presentation, I'm going to talk you through what we actually do on a global level from Rebound to optimize that. Let's take a step back. Because everybody, who was here at the first presentation of Henkel? A great presentation, by the way. It was very much about customer experience, but there was also a blend of customer service in there. So what is actually customer experience? What does it mean? And what's the relationship between customer service and customer experience? Let's take that little step back and then discuss that first before we dive into the returns topic. That Henkel presentation was excellent. Actually, he was talking about Service Cloud. My former role was being responsible for Service Cloud of Salesforce in Northern Europe. So that topic during that presentation was really something close to my heart. And talking about something close to my heart, if I need to catch the water bottle here, sustainable water bottle, it's because I lost my voice almost like 6 weeks ago when I had a bit of a cold. So if you think I'm getting emotional about customer experience, that might actually be true, but it also could be that I'm just dying for a sip of water. So this gets me going because I'm already quite a long time focusing on the subject of customer experience. And this is why I love Rebound so much. So what is customer experience? Again, take a step back. Traditional marketing mix, 60s. What they said is you can compete as a company on 4 topics: product, place, price, and promotion. Everybody in marketing knows this, right? But that's not enough to compete because products are quite similar for similar brands, maybe. Competitors are getting really close, also very close on pricing. So it's very difficult to differentiate on that. And already in the 80s, they said, well, if you're a services company, doesn't fit. There you have the services marketing mix. Services marketing mix will add 3 Ps. We'll add people, processes, and at the time, physical location. This time you could say, of course, it's online location. But those are three more things that you can compete on. Actually, it's true, right? We're here at Deliver, and we talk a lot about processes and how we can improve those processes to compete better. We talk about, the people connection on how to compete with that. But guess what? When you look at it from a broader perspective, everything is now moving into a service model. Socks as a service, underwear as a service, Netflix as a service, groceries as a service, everything as a service. So basically everybody is already sitting in that services marketing mix, and everybody has 7 P's to compete on. But that was the 80s. With a reflection, of course, to what's happening nowadays in what's called the subscription economy. But when you look at the next step, and this was, I believe it was end of the 90s, where first articles were coming in from Pine and Gilmore. And Pine and Gilmore actually said, well, yes, traditional marketing mix, services marketing mix, it's all important. But the real thing that everybody competes on, and the Henkel presentation confirmed that, by the way, we want to compete on customer experience. When you compete on customer experience, you get into the emotional level. You get an emotional connection with your customers. And, people tend to focus on also at the end of the sales cycle, where we will get back to in the later stage in this presentation. And that's post-purchase. And returns is part of the post-purchase experience. So it really affects that customer experience. And this is where you compete on. Leaving an emotional connection with your customers, you can also do that returns, although it's not easy. So let's, again, part of the step back, what is customer experience? Maybe a little bit academic, but let's talk about our definition. Because I said customer experience, not customer service. Customer experience is really that cumulative effect of everything that you do as a company that gives a certain experience, like a emotional connection with your brand. It's a cumulative effect. It is pre-sales, it's during sales, and it's post-sales. And when you talk about customer service, which was the case in the Henkel presentation, it is actually just a part of it. It's a huge influencer. Returns is part of that as well. But customer service is really that part where it is not only after sales, but it is pre-sales, during sales, and after sales, actually answering questions reactively, but also proactively. So 2 different things. One influences the other. Customer service influences customer experience. And when you look at it, when a problem, Bain & Company, the inventors of Net Promoter Score, how you measure customer experience, Bain & Company already say, like, it's 4 times more likely that a company will go to a competitor if there's a problem that's service related versus product or price related. That is really confirming again that you compete on experience and not only on product and price anymore. So, and then returns, of course, when you look at it, returns is in essence, it is a service that you deliver to your customer to make it easy, make it very convenient, almost an experience in itself on how you can return a product. Instead of making it a hassle, making it really, really easy. So when you talk about customer experience, this is not a graph that I've made, right? I've taken this, but it is a very, very good graph on the difference between having a commodity, making it into a good, and delivering that good as a service. That goes higher up into the competitive position that you can have as a company. It's a higher price you can ask for a better service, but it is also, you're more relevant to your customers. But the next stage, and this event is called Deliver, but when you look at it, you could also say that, hey, maybe we need to move into the next stage, which is the real way of competing, which is customer experience. When you look at customer experience, it is the difference. It's very easy, actually. If you go to a fast food restaurant, it would be time well saved. But if you go to a Michelin star restaurant, it's time well spent. And that is really the difference between delivering a service and going into experience mode. Time well saved versus time well spent. And then you look at the whole sales cycle, which is basically pre-sales, sales, and post-sales. So now we're going to zoom in into that post-sales customer experience part, because post-purchase customer experience is way broader than just returns, right? There's companies out there, partners of ours such as Narvar, that actually have a holistic view of how to handle post-purchase experience, and returns is a significant part of that. So let's zoom into that. So, and again, I'm not talking here about Rebound, but I'm talking about what you could do as a brand. What are the focus points? How to influence that customer experience, and how to make it something that almost creates an emotional connection. And to give you a little bit of an extreme, because it's not easy to create an emotional connection with a return, right? But think out of the box. I was speaking to a global brand yesterday in our office, and I asked them, do you have a great story about, making a real difference, getting this emotional connection with the client? And they told me in the office, and I'm getting emotional, but not really. I have to take a sip of water. But can you tell me that story? And she said that there was actually a time where we've got a bag in our returns, and it was handled by us, but in our returns process. And it turned out that this person did send a $2,000 bag. We don't sell $2,000 bags, but they put the wrong bag in the returns package. So they called the customer service department, and basically what happened is we, together with this global brand, went the extra mile, picked up the package out of the returns facility, and really make a nice note and send it back to the customer and really make it an experience. And this is what lasts in this customer's mind, right? It's an extreme, it's an extrapolation. There's won't happen with every return, but that certainly left an emotional connection. It is a customer experience. So when you talk about how to influence customer experience, what are actually the touch points that you as a brand can influence? First, let's start with the initiation. It's the initiation of initiating the thing to come back. Then it's the actual shipping. Then it's the notifications that go around that, communication. And there's one really important thing is the refund, because what people really get emotional about, very basic, is money. Where's my money? Very important. To optimize that, you have the data layer, because with data you can analyze and you can optimize a process. You can measure things such as NPS. That is all part, just as a small part actually, of the whole post-purchase experience. So let's dive a little bit further into these different touch points on what you can do as a brand and what is important to look at. So on the initiation side, it's of course important that you think there's a certain portal where you put in your customers' credentials, the order data, you make it really easy to go in there, that it is branded, that it is the same at the global level, that it is multi-language. And by the way, there are different options for the portal. We do have our portal, but we certainly cooperate with all the others almost out there, or even your own portal, and have a very API-driven approach in that. But it needs to be multi-order. If I ordered multiple stuff, I want to make sure that I can return them all at once. And that you actually, to capture the data, you need to make sure that you give your customers the real good reasons that why they return, because you want to analyze that. So to create that experience in the moment, you need to ask those questions, you need to do that. But at the same time, to create the after experience analytics to optimize it at a later stage is also important. And then when you think about payments, there's a whole different set of payments that customers actually want. Maybe you as a brand want paid returns. Maybe you want to fully funded payments. But there's a whole set of different options out there that are possible, such as loyalty schemes. Maybe you have specific a customer that's very loyal with a different grading that you want to give free returns, but somebody just came in there, you want a partial refund, for example, or a partial paid return. So it's very important that you tailor make that experience that is about money, about refund, very important, that you make that tailor-made to your customers. So be prepared to have those different options to the customer. It's all about giving options, but at the same time, pre-thinking what the right options for this customer might be. That is the initiation part, and not every size fits everybody. So that's the initiation part. As a brand, the next stage is where you don't want to have an experience where it is very difficult to make to choose the carrier, choose whether you want to get the pickup of the package, whether you want label in the box or a hopefully more newer version with QR codes, paperless. You don't want to have to program as a brand all of the options in the different regions on a global level. So a returns portal should have options available on local carriers and carrier integrations. And it should be an easy process. So on the shipping side, it is very important to, again, that you give options. On the notification side, it is all about messaging and about the communication around the return, because the most calls that a customer service department gets is, where is my package and where's my refund, by the way, but where's my package is the other one. And we've spoken to customers that it's up to 30% of the cases are returns related, again showing that customer service gets a huge amount of return calls, and that in customer service is one of the biggest influences of customer experience. So communicating with your customers about the status of the return is very, very important. But it's also the notification on it's not really notification, but the pre-sharing of information in a frequent asked question. What is actually the returns policy? Will it be refunded in 3 to 4 days, or hopefully not, in 10 days? All of these communication upfront is and during the process is very important to deliver that utmost experience possible. And then indeed the notification on where is my refund, the next topic. That is probably the most influential in customer experience. And I'm going to tell you a little bit later on how we solve that problem. But the refund, it is important that customers want their refunds, right? Most of the people want their refunds in several days. So if you're taking the time, for example, 2 weeks to refund them, they will, even if you put it on the website in the policy, they will call your customer service department, and that will cost you money, and it will deliver not such a good experience, of course, as soon as they start calling. So doing the registration in local hubs where you have little time between the customer shipping to that hub is actually very, very crucial. So, and it is also very important, and this is not really about experience, but it is blending experience with fraud detection. Because if you don't do it, if you trigger, for example, the refunds just by people putting the initiation on the website, sending the stuff off, they can send you, we've seen this happening, by the way, sending you bricks. So if you don't do that refund trigger with a fraud detection and actually opening up the package, register and check the item, do the grading even, that is very crucial to blend customer experience with fraud detection, because you can create a magnificent, this very difficult word is, magnificent customer experience, but by just giving the customers money, but that won't work, right? Because you get a lot of, if customers find the loophole, or if you have a loophole, let's put it that way, customers will find it, and we've seen it happening. So that's the refund. And then basically I've been showing you what is important in that whole process. Again, there's way more different steps in that, but this is the lowdown of it. And when you optimize all of these different parts in that process, you have the chance, of course, to create a net promoter score out there that customers actually want to come to you for the next purchase. Think about stuff also of buying online and returning in store. That's also part of that shipping, so-called shipping, but also on the initiation part, because you also could give customers the option to buy online and return in store, and then maybe even give them a discount on their next purchase. And that will, of course, give them a very good experience as well. So there are different ways on how you could do that. Again, options are crucial. So these numbers here are, some of them are stuff that I have found out in the last half year. Basically, I've been working in customer experience quite some times, and I started at Rebound about half year ago. But when the first calls that I had with my customers were all about, how many customer service calls do you actually get from returns? And it turns out that many of the customers I spoke to, or potential clients, actually have quite an amount of calls about returns. And when we were optimizing the processes, we could shave off about 30% of those customer service calls. So again, proving that optimizing the process and making it better by analyzing the full end-to-end chain is actually a huge influencer of that experience. So these numbers are partly my numbers, but the numbers such as the 30% increase in customer retention, you can, if you go to the Salesforce website on Service Cloud, there's a Service Cloud report that gives you very, very good insight on how customer experience and service actually relates to this topic. So if you improve that, you get a higher customer retention and a higher net promoter score. So these numbers are out there from different providers, and it's very relevant. It dawned on me that returns management might actually, it's called case deflection. It might be the ultimate case deflection tool, so to speak. I was always talking about how can we shave off 1 or 2% of your customer service calls by doing this, by using AI, chatbots, and all of this stuff. But it turns out when so much calls normally are about customer returns, then looking at customer returns and optimizing that might be your ultimate case deflection tool and might be the ultimate influencer of customer experience. So I told you, give you a little bit of overview of how I look at and how Rebound looks at customer experience and how we can influence that. And I want to also tell you a little bit, of course, on how we do this, the end of the presentation. I don't want to use the full 45 minutes because I also want to leave room for questions. So what Rebound actually does, how we do this, is we are not a logistics company. We are also not a tech company. Actually, we are both. Right? When I sit in Utrecht, I sit down with our own developers from all over the world. So we do develop our own software to optimize that whole process. The portals, the APIs, the actual software that people use in scanning the packages to do the refund triggers, all of that software is developed in-house. We do also work with partners, so we're very open when it comes to other portal providers or post-purchase experience providers because we just have an API call that we can connect to. But that digital side is very relevant for us. It makes us a software company, a digital company. But we do operate on a global scale on more than 35 locations on a global level, or hubs where we actually receive the packages. Because again, that refund trigger, customers care about money, it influences their experience. So if you have those local hubs, it actually makes a huge difference. So we do have that physical network where we work together with different partners globally. So we don't own our own warehouses, but we operate them. So we are asset light. So that makes us unique. And we do that on a global level for global brands, but also for smaller brands. So how we deliver it. So again, going back to the different parts of returns management, it is about the initiation side. We do have our Rebound returns portal, but again, you can use your own portal. I've been speaking to quite some customers here that want to use our own portal. That's just an API connection. We also work with partners on that initiation side. Shipping, in the portal, we make sure that you don't need to put your carrier contracts on a global level. You could negotiate yourself. Probably will take you some time unless you already have that. But we do have the option to consolidate all of this demand from different brands, negotiate those contracts with global brands or with global carriers, and use this in the portal for customers to choose different carrier options. Then the notification side, we do the messaging as well. And again, when you have those local hubs, as I explained on a global level, it triggers the refund very, very quickly, 3 to 4 days. That is what we do. And on the refund side, we also not only do the package registration, item registration, we can go one step further and already, of course, grade what's coming in on the return side, but also repackage it and clean it, for example. That's what we do. Advanced services. Advanced supply chain, a partner of ours, same company in the same group, actually does way more than that, do even steam cleaning and ozone cleaning. The data side is getting more important, right? AI is a big topic. I'm not sure, I didn't even see any AI presentation here. I was amazed. Right? It should be the main topic here, but the foundation of AI is, of course, data. So what we do in every step, everything, little thing in the network, every IT trigger is measured, is stored, customer specific, and we can actually provide you that data so you can actually avoid returns, right? Avoiding returns is, of course, a big influencer of the overall customer experience. So making sure that the data is right and giving you that data back so you can analyze stuff. Maybe a certain product or a certain region gets more returns. You want to know this data. So we gather the data and make it available for you every step. This is how we do it. And again, it is more than just customer experience. The other topics here on this sheet could be easily another half hour per topic. Cost efficiency, operational efficiency, sustainability, but go in hand with customer experience. There's one thing that's really important, what I see a lot, and I'm just gonna ask the audience a question after this small bit. But what I see in the customers that I speak to or the prospects that I speak to is that it is very, very essential that when you want to optimize returns management, that it is a approach with IT together early up on in the process, with operations and with finance even, and not to forget customer service. If you have that holistic approach, the project will flow more easy. The question to the audience here, maybe raise your hands if you agree or if you see this as well. One of the main things that I see returns management projects stop is because of operations and IT. And then often I see that it is IT that basically has a full stop or half stop because there is no resources and they find it difficult to start the process because of the internal resources. Is this something that you see in your own companies as well, that you want to start with effective returns management, but do you see working together with the IT department needs to be optimized? How do you, maybe raise your hand if you think that? That's not too much. So might be very specific, for the set of prospects that I was speaking to. But it is something that I notice, and if you haven't hit it yet, please be aware that it needs that approach between customer service, IT, and logistics together early upon in the process because it all integrates. So thank you very much. I wasn't that emotional, right? I didn't need too much water here. But if you want to know more, of course, there will be room for questions from the audience. And, make sure that you consider that entire journey that I explained, because every touch point influences customer experience. Returns management relates heavily to customer service, and customer service relates heavily to customer experience. Those are very much related. And then, very important, customer experience is very much related to money. Make sure that the refund trigger is done correctly on a timely basis. And if you want to know more, apart from me answering questions here, come to stand D61, just outside here, coffee machine around the corner, and we'll be going into not only customer experience, but also the other two topics that I mentioned. So that's it from my side. Opening up for questions. Did you like it?
Thanks, Marko.
Thank you very much.
Amazing. Excellent. So we'll throw it out to the audience if there's any questions for Marko. No? I'll kick off.
I was very thorough there.
Oh, we've got one. There we go.
Go ahead.
Hello, this is Nanning from Toolstation. I'm wondering, what's your experience on returning items to a physical store rather than via an online way of returning?
It actually is a very significant topic. I brought it up a little bit in my presentation, of course, halfway, I believe. And it was about, buy online, return in store. And we actually have some global brands that do that. The only thing is when you buy online and return in store, there's often it's like a side process, right? If you don't optimize that and people just need to handle that in store, you can make a process that it goes straight back into the stock in the store. If you have a order management system and a system that tracks that. But what you often see is that people in the back of the shop actually get things in, they need to rework it, and then call a DHL or whatever, PostNL, to pick up those packages. So how we do that is actually have a portal for the shop that actually uses the same software layer, but when people get a package in or something that they want to return in the shop, they can consolidate that, book a shipment from one of the carriers that we use it, but it's in a portal where it's optimized, and it goes then to our facilities where the grading is done and the refund trigger is done. It goes into the same returns process for the parcel pickup or the other process basically besides that. So making it an integrated process on the back end and making it easier for the people in the shop, of course, is a huge influencer of this customer experience.
Cheers. Thanks.
Yeah, good.
Another question in the middle there? Yeah, just that lady there.
Hi, I'm Karina. I'm from Pandora. I have a question in regards to cross-border returns. Is that something that you see from your customers, and what do you experience there in terms of pricing, taxes, VAT?
Yeah, that's a good
challenges.
topic. Actually, I had a whole session on that. We have some experts on that on customs. I am not an expert on customs, but I can tell you there are, of course, challenges, because when you ship to certain countries, you pay the VAT, and when you return, you cannot ship in country because you need to ship back to the original country, right? So there are rules for that. So we do have experts that are very much capable of knowing all these rules. But we certainly handle those returns because we handle returns on a global level. So we make sure that we follow the rules, and then make this possible. When we take into account the customs law specific for those lanes that you're operating with, and I know Pandora is a global brand, so you certainly would see those challenges. So it is something that we do on a day-to-day basis. That's our bread and butter, basically.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think also in relation to when you talk buy online, return in store,
Yeah.
and then customers would take it to a different country to return. Is that something that you've seen anything with?
I'm not 100% sure, but what I could imagine, if you buy online, return, and then it comes from a different country, and then you ship it back, that would be you need to make sure that it follows the same process. So to my point of that portal and making sure that the process is integrated, that is of course where you need to think about. And again, I'm not an expert there myself, but we certainly have people that are very much capable of that whole customs process and how we optimize that. So I would just recommend you just to come by, because there are some people that are really, really good in this. Would that be okay? Okay.
Yeah. Good. So, question up the back.
Hi, I'm Alicia from Ola BB, and my question is in regards to the negative side of returns. So you spoke about how you have heard about people who send back bricks, for example, instead of the actual product. So my interest would just be around how Rebound handles those situations where either it is a complete fraudulent case, or when they send something back that doesn't comply with a particular store's refund policy.
Good point. I was sorry, getting emotional again.
That's a good question.
It's a good question. So it gives me more time than zipping in water. But it's awful. I had 6 weeks ago a little bit of an infection, and my voice is still trying to recover. So we do. Hopefully this answers your question, right? So just flag if this goes in the wrong direction. But this happens, right? As I said, if there is a loophole, people will find it, and we've seen those cases. So people will send you bricks back right? If they find that you refund them just by scanning the box. That's not enough. So this is why what we call it level 2. We open the box, we check it. So, but your question was, does this happen? We also work not only with fashion brands, but also I won't call the name here, but it is a electronics company on a global scale, and these things are worth quite a bit. So we handle them, but people sometimes they put bricks, literally bricks, in the boxes, and then what happens? I think that was your question, is that we say no refund trigger, and that we don't call the customer. That's not our job. That is the customer service department of the specific brand, but we trigger that automatically, right? We have the package, but the refund trigger is no. So this is how it works, and this is important that is an integrated process. Does that answer the question? Good.
Excellent. I've got a question for you. So I did a bit of research, obviously the impact of returns at the moment. So the impact on the global economy, they're saying, is $761 billion in terms of returns, the fraud, the effect of operations and the such. You touched on AI, and obviously AI is inclusion. It's in everything now. But AI coming into returns. Where do you see AI in terms of being able to assess returns and make an impact on reducing that figure?
Oh yeah, and that's a very a good topic, because the level that we are on, there's a lot of companies basically looking at that, right? But when you have, it's all has to do with the data.
Yeah.
And I think we look at it at making sure that we gather as much data in every step. And of course, in a GDPR compliant way, it's your data, it's not ours. So how we really look at it is that data layer actually facilitates all kind of innovations that we can deliver on top of that. We also work with partners. There are partners out there that specifically only look at analyzing basically the data and returns, and then feeding that back on how to reduce returns. And you could say, for a company like Rebound, why would we go there? Because why would we reduce returns, right? It's a revenue generator. But we're also thinking about sustainability, and I think that we need to disrupt ourselves, because otherwise we'll be seeing other parties coming up. So really much focusing on that, on those developments, making sure that we're on top of that, because reducing returns is of course impactful on customer experience, and it also impacts sustainability for a big part. But again, it all stands or falls with data, and putting the layer on top of that, which is first of all automation, which we already have, and then the next layer, of course, is AI and really predictive on how you can avoid those returns. We do work with partners in that space that are really high up in that AI chain. And again, D61, we can tell you all about it in an hour session, for example.
Excellent. Any further questions? No? I'll pose another one. So I guess one of the aspects that we saw, the company I used to have, we were a platform. We helped companies ship out parcels. One of the aspects that we got into was the insurance.
Now we get serious, right? I'm going to put off my
jacket.
jacket.
The jacket's off. I thought you were going to hit me there.
No, it's warm.
So no, getting into that aspect, we looked at the insurance and the impact insurance had. Have you sort of delved into where insurance can be in the returns industry, for example?
Yes, a whole other subject on making sure that you insure the where that comes in the returns process, especially when it is valuable. And this may be, there's this world is so diverse, and as a company from Rebound, we cannot do all of that stuff. So when we're talking about actually talking to a client as we speak, a prospect that has that question on fraud and insurance. So what we make sure is that our platform actually integrates, they have a software platform to make sure that the return is insured. We don't do that ourselves, but this partner of ours that we brought in is actually with an API connection looking into that if they can follow the same process.
Yes.
And this is so important that you have options and that everything is API driven, because this world is developing so quickly that if you work with a returns partner that doesn't have all these API connections, then you get stuck because you cannot innovate.
Yes.
So we don't do that ourselves, but we certainly do work with partners.
Amazing. Amazing. I think that's it. If there was any further questions? No?
No.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Marko.
Giving
Amazing
you 4
presentation.
minutes and 45
Customer
seconds
experience.
back. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.